I had a lot of years of being totally overwhelmed by anger and rage, and finding that it was completely unmanageable and would explode out of me in ways that were very harmful and destructive. And being able to widen my window of tolerance so that I could study the experience of anger in my body and get to know it was really powerful for me. I was able to start to, through training and mindfulness-based stress reduction, just start to be able to parse out those different components of experience. And so in noticing the sensations and being able to name those and tag those as, sensation is here. It might be tightness in the chest, quivering in the belly, constriction, bracing. That gives me the chance to allow those sensations and also to disentangle myself from the experience of anger. And so the noting language in a meditation practice was perhaps the most powerful thing I could do for myself in those acute moments of reactivity when they were happening in the moment. And so like building that window of tolerance so you have a little bit more capacity to notice those signals that anger or rage is arising, and then naming that. Anger is present. And this is a huge difference from I am angry. When you use the language, I am angry, you're actually identifying with anger. You're becoming anger. When you can start to parse the experience of anger into its different components, we've got sensations, we've got thoughts, we've got core beliefs about our belonging and our safety in the world that are informing our reactivity. We have emotions. So we have these different things happening here. What I can do then with attentional control and with this intentional shifting of attention on purpose is I can place my attention on one part of my experience, like the tightening in my chest or the fiery feeling in my belly. And I can notice that that's a part of my experience. And then I can pull back to that lake shore, take that perspective of the observer, and I can put my attention on another part of my experience, which is also happening right now. And that might be the breath, it might be my feet on the floor, it might be that the birds are singing outside. It might be any number of things. And then I can go back in, I still notice anger is here, rather than I'm still angry. I'm still angry about that thing that happened. We get latched in. And you may or may not be aware of this. Neuroscientists have shown that the felt experience of an emotion in the body, when we allow it to be there, it lasts about 90 seconds. And it follows kind of a wave pattern. It arises, and then it passes. And so if we are experiencing something like anger more or for longer than 90 seconds, it is because we are re-triggering with our thoughts. And the automaticity of our thoughts and the habit loops that we have formed are really impactful on our moment-to-moment experience of how we relate to anger and how it may or may not overtake us. Rage itself is very overpowering in general. I kind of define rage as the explosion of stored anger or undischarged traumatic energy. When we experience a threat to our sense of belonging, our physical safety, that is a trauma, and that puts us into a fight, flight, flee response. Because our society does not have normalized, healthy practices and outlets for channeling anger, we're often made to believe very, very young that our anger is a problem, that it is something that is not to be shown or witnessed or shared with anybody, and that we need to contain it. Containing ourselves in this way really just keeps the poison trapped inside of us. And it doesn't allow the fuel that is created, the heat, the energy that is created by that anger to go anywhere, and it just festers inside of our body. A lot of times that manifests as chronic pain, tension, illness, gastrointestinal problems, because what we're doing is we're blocking the energetic flow of that anger. And even if it's anger that we've been carrying with us for a very long time, since our very earliest years, that anger, this is our system, our nervous system's way of letting us know that there's a problem, that something needs to change. That friction is where our deep inner knowing is saying, no, this is not safe. No, this is not right. And so when we can do this sometimes very difficult task of slowing down the way you all have with me today and checking out the experience of anger with some care, what we now have the opportunity to do is to get some information. And this may be an ongoing process. You may want to explore the depth of your anger in writing, in art, in movement. One of my favorite somatic practices is to go down to the creek near where I live and to pick up rocks and to scream and throw them as hard as I can into the water. And giving yourself permission to move anger through you is absolutely essential to your health and well-being. And we're not going to be able to do anything with that anger if we're outraged, because rage is not grounded. When we are enraged, our lid is flipped. This front part of our brain is not online because we're in a fight, flight response, or maybe even an annihilate response. And so what we need to do with that is we need to create healthy, manageable channels for moving the experience through us, because there is so much intensity in that experience of anger, because this is our system telling us that something needs to change. Volcanoes are a great metaphor for working with anger. If you have experienced explosive rage like I have, it can come without warning, just like a volcanic eruption. All of a sudden, I've lost myself, and my behaviors and my actions are burning everyone around me. But what many active volcanoes that don't suddenly erupt actually have going on is they have these little steam vents where they're releasing the pressure from time to time. And there's a lot of pressure right now for many of us in our systems. The worst thing we can do for ourselves is to try to contain it or control it or to make it go away. It's here, it is real, and we need to keep it moving. Whatever your practices are for keeping anger moving in your body, double down on them. Double down on your self-care. And this is kind of a radical act of defiance against a system that is systematically stripping us of our belonging. And this is the real threat, and why so many of us are feeling anger right now is because there's a deep threat to our sense of safety and belonging in the world. And that's a big problem for our nervous system, and we need to do something about it. What we can't do is pick up pitchforks and go charging around losing our minds, just crazy and violent. That's not helpful at all. But actually what's most helpful is to slow down, build that space around anger, give yourself channels, movement, 5 rhythms dance, drumming, singing. Take that pillow, scream into it. You have to give yourself time and space to feel and move the anger out of the cellular tissues of your body. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. And we do still have a few minutes. I would love to address any questions or comments, reflections in the chat. I'm going to be back again, probably not next Friday, but sometime next week around the same time. This is more than one session of meditation, more than one session of teaching. And just like, that volcano, it's not a one and done kind of thing. This is a regular practice that we need to be moving through moment to moment as we go about our day in a time when the world is threatening our safety and belonging and the safety and belonging of our loved ones. Yeah, great question. Do I have or know any pre-recorded meditations or talks to help move the anger through the body so it doesn't get stuck? Yeah, thank you, Neves. I am recording, Agota. I will put it, it will be on my website, which you can easily find by searching my name and in the Insight Timer bio. So moving that anger, first of all, just movement of the body. And it can be intentionally with the idea of moving that anger or just to move the body, keeping your blood flowing and keeping your muscles moving, hydrating, fluids, rest. All of these things are going to help. So that doubling down on self-care piece is really important because that's going to widen your window of tolerance quite a bit. Any recorded practice, and there are a few along these lines on my Insight Timer, any recorded practice that supports you in shifting attention with intention. So in MBSR, you've got like the breath, body, sound, thoughts, emotions practice. That one is really, really powerful because it gives you the opportunity to shift from one part of your experience and to disentangle, and then to re-engage with another part of your experience and to be the master of your attentional control, which is really everything. Any movement practice is better than no movement practice. Your goal is really just to tend to the body and keep things moving. We have to be in flow. As soon as we tamp down and constrict and contain, we've blocked the flow of that energy. My favorite practices are 5 rhythms dance, which many major cities do have 5 rhythms events. And that's just a gorgeous practice for moving through physically the embodiment of emotional experience. And as I said, the throwing rocks, even just hatha yoga. Again, any movement experience. Yes, pendulation. Pendulation is very important. Agota, are you asking what pendulation is or how to incorporate that into your practice? I guess I'm curious about that. But really having that base of resource. So starting by resourcing yourself and then investigating just a little bit how to incorporate that. Great. So in your day-to-day life, if you can notice those first signals in your body that anger is arising, maybe just for a moment, you bring some attention to the felt experience. So feel your feelings rather than think your feelings. Just give yourself permission to notice those physical sensations. And then return your attention to your conversation or to your thoughts or, to whatever it is you're engaging in. And you do this in the practice as well. And next time I come, I'll share more about how to incorporate that pendulation. I wish we had more time. Yep. And please, I invite you to make a donation if this practice and this session has been supportive for you. Yep. 5 Rhythms Dance. I love it. And again, anything that gets the body moving, rhythmic sensory input is very, very important as well. So even just listening to some music, putting on a favorite song and just moving your body a little bit, dancing like nobody's watching for a few minutes, just giving yourself permission to feel it, to shake it. Time in nature is another very, very important thing that you can do for yourself. If you can find a place in nature where you can be alone, giving yourself a chance to have a good scream, a good cry, to smash some things, really just anything you can do to move it through your body. Thank you all for being here today, and please follow me on Insight Timer. Yeah, absolutely, Qigong. Make donations if you feel led, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you so much.